Hello again, everyone, and welcome live to Virginia International Raceway for round 4 of 10 of the Continental Sports Car Endurance Championship. Will Vincent and Joni Bäckman in the booth. Beautiful racetrack here at Virginia, one of the trickiest tracks on the iRacing service, and you'll be looking today at the Mazda MX-5s and the Ford Mustangs doing battle on this racetrack. Currently looking at the dying moment of qualifying. Trace McRae is currently setting the fastest time overall with a 2 minutes 5.724 in qualifying. Just having a look to see whether anyone's going to beat him in the next couple of moments. And don't forget, the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series is sponsored by Safecraft Racing, your home for safety harnesses, belts and head nets. Drive fast, be safe with Safecraft Racing.
This is one of the tracks that I've so badly hoped that a lot of other smaller cars, in terms of car size, physical car size, should run, because a lot of people hate this track because it has very little safety areas. The grass is slippery. The track is very narrow. It's long, tight corners, you name it. But it also provides excellent racing to the Skip Barbers, Mazdas, all the cars that are size-wise fit too wide around this racetrack. So I personally love the track.
Yeah, very difficult technical racetrack here at Virginia. So many different sweeps and turns and bends and undulations as you go through this racetrack. We'll guide you through the track as this race progresses. Keep an eye out especially for turn number 1, the horseshoe. As the cars approach there, they'll be pretty much approaching top speed as they get down into turn number 1. Very tight double apex corner. You can almost imagine it being like the spoon curve at Suzuka in reverse, as the car opens up as you go through the first apex into turn number 2, and then as they come down towards the NASCAR bend for turn 3 and then the left hook. Expect cars to be very bunched together as they get their way through this first lap. So, to have a look through the grid, Trace McRae does maintain pole position with a 2 minute 5.724, a good 0.4 of a second faster over Oscar Schilling in the Ford Mustangs. Russell Clayson is in 3rd, Kevin Brown in 4th, Steve Brown in 5th, and Judy Bergardner in 6th, David Waters in 7th, Stephen McPherson in 8th, Bill Daly in 9th, and Ricky Dalton in 10th. And then in the Mazda MX-5s, you have James Stevenson leading the way with a 2 minute 12.933. He'll have Giancarlo Lenzi line up alongside him in 12th. Jason Breifogel and Jarrett Lawson will line up in row number 7. Hang Hao Tao and Antti Truman will line up in row number 8. Matthew Renhall and Ryan Worley will line up in row 9. Row 10, Chris Moran and Joseph Peake. Stephen Asbury and Eric Biggs in row number 11, with Stephanie Marin and Jean Montoya in row number 12, and 2 non-qualifiers, Ayrton Ellis and Wes Eric, will line up in row 13. And it'll be interesting to see how these drivers cope with this difficult racetrack. Don't forget also, full course cautions are on in this series, so in the event that there is a multi-car incident, expect the pace car to come out and bring the field back to pace conditions. And Joni, we've seen in the previous races in this series that does a lot for strategy here.
Yeah, it does, and full course cautions, this race series has a lot of specifications and rules that we don't see in almost any other road series in iRacing. We have full course cautions, we have mandatory pit stops, and the guided pit stops. You have certain sequence in the start of the race during which you have to take that first pit stop in the race just to guarantee that every car is involved, so none of the guys gets 3/4 of a lap down because they have to do a pit stop, whereas someone else would not have to.
And there's many different layouts to this racetrack. We are using the full course today, which is the second longest of all the tracks. So we're not using the Grand West course with some slightly ridiculously named corners. cars are currently just going out of turn number 3 with a look of it. And Joni, this section through turn 6 all the way through to the Oak Tree corner at turn 12, very fast, but you have absolutely no maneuverability to get off track because it's so narrow here and the corners are so tricky that you've got to really try and build up speed on this long twisty back section.
Yeah, this sequence of corners that we're going through right now is I would say one of the trickiest section of corners other than the SS in Suzuka, and this is even longer than the SS. We're coming right now the right, left, right, left, right, left, and then the Oak Tree corner, which is a narrow hairpin. If your car does not have front wings and lots of aerodynamic grip, this corner complex gives a lot of people props because the car, if you just make a slight mistake, goes slightly off from your racing line, and considering the speed you're going through that complex, you just all you take is one clipping over the grass, and one or two of your tires just lose a bit of grip, and next thing you know, you find yourself sliding sideways into the tire barriers. So that's a scary section every single lap.
And then as the cars come through the Oak Tree corner, turn number 12, probably the tightest corner on the racetrack after turn number 1, they'll then come down the Madison Avenue backstretch. You'll see there they go building up quite a bit of speed as they do so.
Yeah, we get pretty good speeds coming into the back straightaway, but I have to say that this track is somehow ruined by the next corner that is after the straightaway, because you have a bit of kink just before the heavy braking going into the difficult right-hander right here. The small kink causes you to basically your car is forced to turn while you're cornering. You have to actually, with some of these cars, you even have to quit braking. You have to start braking early, get the car to turn into the left kink, and then continue braking. So without that corner, if the kink would just be missing and the right-hander would be the first corner to brake for, I would say that would improve the racing around here quite a bit.
So Trace McRae will bring the field down towards the green flag momentarily. Pace car pulls to the right hand side now, and round 4 is underway here at Virginia.
Yeah, looks like a very clean start from Trace McRae. Fun to see if he makes the traditional driving to the sunset race here. But he gets to lead the way into the first corner, which is pretty tight even with these cars, so even 2 wides are pretty demanding with around that corner.
So far it looks as though most of the Mustangs have been able to get through turn number 1 okay, keeping an eye back on the Mazdas. 3 wide as they go through the first series of corners down towards turn number 3. Looks as though so far everyone's been able to get through okay. You do have one car just hopping across the grass, manages to get back on track, but for the most part it looks as though everyone survived the first part of this lap okay.
Yeah, very, very, very clean racing. I think these guys have the racing head nets on, and Safecraft has obviously provided some valuable information to these guys. It's rare that you see this amount of cars going through safely through the entire first lap. Almost every single series that we have around the Virginia Raceway. As we see, Giancarlo Lenzi just clips then goes wide, and Giancarlo clips one of the yellow cars. I can't see who it was, but he went heavily into the tires.
Yeah, so it looks as though for the moment we're going to stay under the green flag conditions, but it's so difficult this first series of corners. After you get through turn 3 and 4, it's single file all the way for the most part, because the track is barely 2 cars wide. But it did look as though Lenzi got away a little bit there. But as you go up the hill there, it is very little move to try and make a pass. You really got to wait until you get up to turn 12 to try and make a maneuver. But some of these guys wanted to get into a hurry really quickly, and it just showed there.
Yeah, I think it was Ryan Worley that that went off the wall there. Can you verify that?
Just having a look back at the moment, and it does look as though Worley was involved in that incident. Meanwhile, Trace McKay has come down to complete lap number 1. The Mustangs are, for the most part, spread out now, single file all the way back. So Trace McKay, the number 69, is your race leader, with Oscar Sarlin in second, Russell Clayton in third, Kevin Brown in fourth, and JD Bargardmer in fifth. And we saw that as well, just as they come down the pit straight, a number of the MX-5s coming down into pit lane. Just having a look back to see how many of them actually did make the journey down. Joseph Peak went down pit lane, Hang Ho Tao went down, as well as Jason Bifogel.
Yeah, James Stevenson as well.
Yeah, and I believe it was James Stevenson in that number 11, the yellow car that we saw going heavily off track earlier on. They've all come back out onto the racetrack. But some of these guys, does look as though, I'm not sure if they're playing strategy or whether they all got damaged, but 4 cars in the MX-5 division already off track into pit lane.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. It's hard to tell from right now that whether these guys have damage or not, but yeah, that was I wouldn't say eventless first lap, but eventless comparing to usual races that we see around the Virginia Raceway. But yeah, sadly, at least one heavy off track, and didn't manage to catch any other severe actions. But I hope it stays like this, and that we avoid any pointless cautions, because caution flags around this racetrack tend to take quite a while.
Oh yeah, this is one of the longest pace laps you will get in the entirety of the iRacing service. So it's always important to try and stay green for as long as possible. But that will come into some strategy later on. If these drivers can save enough fuel, it will really make strategy interesting in both cars. And some drivers will be trying to get the jump on others, trying to see whether they can just short fill and hope for cautions as this race progresses. Meanwhile, Trace McRae is still your leader in the Ford Mustang division. Giancarlo
Lenzi drives in the pits. From second place.
Lenzi is down in pit lane in the number 02 machine. Having a look at his car, he has absolutely no issues to his car at all. A number of other drivers coming down pit lane as well. Just going to quickly bring you up to speed on who that is.
So,
but Matthew Reinhold, Jarrett Lawson and Giancarlo Lenzi all down pit lane on lap 2.
I wonder, Russell Cleason, yeah, no problems. He's just having obviously some bit of connection issues, because he was in 3rd place, then he dropped back into 7th, and now he's back into 3rd, so must be a connection issue for him right there.
And Antti Turman is currently leading in the number 19 machine in the MX-5 divisions. But I tell you what, he's got a huge lead, but that is simply because of the fact that a number of these other drivers have already come down pit lane in the first 2 laps of this race.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. I think it's probably a good strategy to come in while everything is going smooth, because you don't lose a lap. But if around this racetrack you get a caution after majority has pitted, and then you pit, drop into the back of the line, this track is not the easiest one to climb your way back up.
I was about to say, because this track is so narrow, it makes overtaking very difficult at points. You've really only got about 3 options where you can try and make a move. Down into turn number 1, perhaps turn 12, and towards the end of the lap. But we already talked about how the roller coaster turn is so difficult to try and make a pass because of that left-hand kink before the sharp 90-degree right-hander. You have to really commit to an overtaking manoeuvre down the back straightaway if you're going to have any chance of making a position.
Very true, and with these cars, one of the oak tree braking, the downhill braking is also one of the good options to overtake. But once you get the car to turn in, the double right-hander around the oak tree is very tricky, because even if you win a guy under braking, you have very little room to turn in, especially if you're in the inside line of the corner. So the section that the Kevin Brown is right now. Currently you're in car with Kevin Brown. The section that he's coming in right now, if you get a good launch of this corner right here to up into the next left-hander right here, this is one of the potential overtaking spots, because these cars can hit the inside curve very heavily and get away with it without any damage or losing control of the car, unlike Formula 1s, for example. So this is a potential overtaking spot right here.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you what, for Kevin Brown, it does look as though he's getting a little bit distracted by the connection issues that is plaguing Russell Clayton ahead of him. He did drop back at the start of this lap because of it, but he's also coming under a bit of pressure from J.D. Bergardmer, and that will be the battle for 4th position in the Ford Mustang division. Bergardmer putting a little bit of pressure on, not quite close enough to make a move as they go through the Oak Tree corner. Beautiful corner though, as they come down onto that backstretch.
Indeed, and behind him, behind Kevin, number 22 car of Russell Cleason is having his full way with J.D. Baumgartner right here as we come into the long back straight. And yeah, I keep saying this every time I visit this track. I keep saying it. We're getting into the corner complex right here, and as you can see, the cars start to brake heavily to the left king. Then they have to ease off the brake just to get the car to turn into the very left side of the track in order to get the car to turn in right to the next right-hander. And unless you're too wide already going into that kink, it's so tricky to make a braking maneuver to try to get past someone. Unlike, for example, in tracks like Spa or Homestead or Daytona or similar, where you have lots and lots of space under braking. That's you have speed, you have tight corners, you have basically everything required for good overtaking maneuvers, but it just seems to every time you seem to have some bit of issue that makes it very difficult.
Yeah, so still looking at the battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th position on the racetrack. Kevin Brown, Russell Clayton and J.D. Baumgartner are currently separated by just over a second. Meanwhile, behind them, it does look as though Steve Brown is being dropped by these 3 drivers. But in the last bit of the lap, it did look as though he caught up just a little bit. But Trace McRae, meanwhile, in that number 69, driving away from the field yet again. Gap up between him and Oscar Charlin is currently 3.7 seconds. And from Charlin back to Brown is another 5 seconds. These 2 drivers are driving away, but once again, Trace McRae is the absolute dominant side of the field. But in the MX-5 division, Antti Tuomainen is currently 8 seconds ahead of Eric Briggs in 2nd. In the number 16 machine, Ryan Wardy in 3rd and Stephanie Murray in 4th. But let's not forget a number of drivers, including Giancarlo Lenzi, Jarrett Lawson, Jason Beifogel, James Dean and Hang Ho Tao, have all come down pit lane early on in this race to try and see whether they can make strategy work for them.
Yeah, and that's actually an interesting point when we look at the MX-5s. Antti Tuomainen and all the remaining top 6 MX-5s at the moment have not been in the pits. Those that had gone into the pits are actually lapping identical lap times against Antti Tuomainen, who is currently 9.1 seconds ahead of Eric Biggs. Antti is actually lapping as fast as the guys with fresh tires on it. Giancarlo Lenzi leading the pitted field, should we say, right in our screen in 7th position. But the problem with them is that Lenzi is catching John Montoya about 4 seconds a lap, but as they hit Montoya, overtaking will cause them to lose like at least 1 or 2 seconds a lap. And I actually have to say that if it stays full green, Antti Tuomainen is in a very strong position to win this race. I mean, it's the early stage of the race, but he's 1.3 seconds a lap faster than the current number 2, and he's outlapping Giancarlo Lenzi leading the pitted field.
Yeah, having a look back, the gap between Lenzi and Montoya is a little under 5 seconds as they come down this long backstretch. And I think Lenzi is going to have, and all these guys behind him, they're going to have to pick their overtaking maneuvers so carefully. Lenzi not only has to make sure that he can get past people like Montoya and then Stephen Ashbury in the number 96 machine in front of him, but he needs to remember the fact that he's got Jarrett Lawson right behind him and also Jason Beifogel ready to pounce in case either of those 2 make a mistake. So managing your way through this traffic is going to be crucial for these 3 drivers, as we're probably going to come up to lap Montoya in about the next lap or so.
Yeah, I would definitely think that during this following lap, Lindsay is going to catch him, but I doubt that he will be able to pass him this time around. Last lap around 2 minutes 14.2 for Lindsay, 2 minutes 15.7 for Montoya, so 3.5 seconds a lap. Lindsay outpacing him, but at the same time in the lead, Lindsay did a 2:14.2. Antti Tuominen in the lead did a 2:14.4, so only 2/10 faster, slower than Lindsay. And as Lindsay hits John Montoya's rear end, I'd say Antti Tuominen is gonna escape like 1 or 2 seconds a lap. And started. Sorry, just to add that Antti Tuominen did not start this race on pole in MX5, and his pace currently is definitely capable of winning the race.
I think for Lindsay and all these guys behind, they're going to have to try and make sure they get past Montoya on one of these long straightaways if they're going to have any chance of keeping their momentum. Having a look ahead, and Lindsay's going to have the corner of his life as he goes through down towards the Oak Tree corner, and Lindsay goes off track just a little bit. This is going to be able to allow Lawson to put a bit of pressure on him as they come through the Oak Tree corner, and this is what we're talking about. This is the field stacking up. Lindsay looking to try and get past Montoya and almost collecting Lawson there. As you see, Lindsay down on the outside. Lawson, however, he's got this slipstream on the left as Lindsay almost tries to tuck back in. Almost didn't have the chance to do so.
Yeah, but looks like we're going to get the first 2 wide. Almost 3 wide going into the left. King, let's see who's got the biggest... It seems like Lindsay just gave up on Lawson, and Lawson, at the same time, Montoya gave up on Lawson. So Lawson, it looks like these guys just gave up 2 positions for him during one straightaway. That was beautiful. Yeah, Lawson manages to make the advantage work for him. He's got a little bit of clean air now. Lindsay's going to hunt him down momentarily, but Montoya, he's been passed by both of these two, and he's also holding up now Jason Breyfogle a little bit. Thankfully for Breyfogle, he's got a straightaway now to try and clear Montoya as they come down towards turn number 1 as they complete lap number 6. Meanwhile, looking at James Stevenson right behind. Yeah, looking at the top of the field, Trace McRae currently 4.9 seconds in the lead, and he's lapping half a second a lap faster than Oscar Salin. Sorry, I need to interrupt. Jason Breyfogle in the number 34 machine went off track there as he's trying to overtake John Montoya. He's going to leave himself a good 6-7 seconds as he manages to bring it back on track. Very lucky though, that's one of the points where there is a large degree of runoff. So he could just try and turn the car to the right, get it back onto the racetrack. But he's definitely lost himself a lot of time now, and that's going to put Breyfogle on the back foot as he's now coming under attack from Hang Ho Tao in the number 10. Yeah, let's see if we can get a look at what exactly happened over there with Jason Breyfogle. Meanwhile, Giancarlo Lenzi, he is trying to get the slipstream back on Jarrett Lawson as they come through these sweeping left-right, left-right, left-right-handers coming down towards the Oak Tree corner. It looks as though Lawson has got enough for Lenzi at the moment. But will Lenzi be able to make a move as they come down into the corner? Not quite this time. May have to see whether we can make the move happen as they come out of this section, down the back straightaway. They have traffic yet again, this time with Stephen Ashbury. Yeah, meanwhile, we're looking at the replay of the Jason Breyfogle incident, and clearly, like I said, he had a good opportunity to go too wide into the first turn there, but the horseshoe is so tight, and he just had a couple of miles per hour too much speed going into that corner, and didn't get the car to turn in, clipped the grass slightly, and that's all it took for him to go way wide. So we're back live now with Jason Breyfogle currently down in 10th position. So was looking down to the inside as they came down in to the roller coaster. Didn't quite manage to make it happen, but almost ran into the back of Lawson, and he's looking down to the inside yet again. This time he's got the preferred line as they come down past the start-finish line into turn number 1. They're not going to quite catch Ashbury just yet. It looks as though Lenzi, is he going to be late enough on the brakes? It looks as though he is going to manage to make the pass work, but is he going to be bulked at the same time by Ashbury as they come out into this very slow sequence of corners? Doesn't seem like it. That was a textbook overtaken right there by Giancarlo Lenzi. That's the way to do it. I mean, you don't have to outbrake someone into that corner. All you have to do is be too wide going into that corner, and you can just basically define the rhythm that you two have to carry through that corner, because there's no way that you can carry enough speed around that corner from the outside line to maintain your position too wide going through there. So the inside, whoever gets to the inside first definitely has the advantage, and Giancarlo did not overrun it like Jason Breifogel did it momentarily.
Battle for third, fourth and fifth position in the Ford Mustang still continuing. Kevin Brown is currently running in third, Russell Clausen in fourth, JD Bargardner in the fifth position. And it does look as though for the moment these guys are content running where they are. We're still green. We've been green for the entire time here in round 4 of 10 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, sponsored by Safecraft Racing. Your home for safety harnesses, belts and head nets. Drive fast, be safe. Safecraft Racing.
Currently looking at Antti Tuominen has still lapping pretty identically against Giancarlo Lenzi, but Antti's gap is up to almost 30 seconds now to Giancarlo Lenzi. That's well more than enough to survive through the pit stop.
Yeah, for that number 90 machine, if he has to pit under green, it does look as though he's going to be able to top off with a little bit of race gas, get some fresh tyres, and be able to just about get out in front of his competition. So for the number 90, it looks as though his strategy is working beautifully, being able to gap himself in what is essentially clean air. The only person he's got anywhere near him is the number 82, Steve Brown, in the Ford Mustang, running slower than pretty much everyone else in the Ford Mustang field.
You're currently watching at the number 22 car of Russell Cleason running in 5th spot, hounding for that 4th spot right in front of him. 4th spot being 63 of JD Baumgartner, who actually a short while ago managed to get by Russell Cleason. So Russell is looking at the redemption here.
Yeah, that number 22 machine does look as though whilst these two fight it out, it is allowing Kevin Brown in the number 16 to pull away ever so slightly as these two fight for position. It does look, though, that Clausen is dropping back just a little bit from Baumgartner.
Yeah, it looks like he had the pace early going into this race, but the Ford Mustang, especially with the old tire model still on it in this car, one of the few cars remaining in iRacing service with the older tire model, causes the car to slide quite a bit, and if you just overdrive the car, even with not so good setup, you can drive the car fast for a few laps, but once you start melting those melting the tires, this car does extreme punishment for the driver, because it tends to like instantly take the grip away from you, from being a well-handling car to not having grip at all. So if Russell just made the mistake of driving the car too heavily too early, he's in a run of his life, because we have more than 60 minutes of racing left, and of course Russell still needs a pit stop, but the rest of the stint is gonna be horrendous for him if he just overrun those tires.
One thing we haven't talked about in this race so far is, unlike some of the tracks that we've run in this series, like Barber Motorsports Parks, about a month or so back, these Ford Mustangs aren't going to be lapping the Mazda MX-5s as often as they do on some tracks, and that is because of how long this track is. I mean, we're talking about lap times of about 2 minutes 7 for the fastest of the Ford Mustangs. Last time by, Trace McRae did a 2 minute 6.8, while the Mazda MX-5s are doing 2 minute 14, 2 minute 15s. So that means that it's going to take a good 18, 19 laps as Anthony Turman just gets a little bit sideways as he comes through these slow, kinky corners. But whilst these drivers have got clean air, it does mean that they can build up a lot more momentum and not have to be worrying about back markers as often as they have done at some of these other racetracks. And finding momentum on a track like this is pretty critical, Joni.
Indeed it is, and while Antti Tuominen did just went sideways a little bit through the corners, he's still lapping extremely fast lap times. His last lap was kept saying 1 minute because I've seen seconds. 2 minutes 14.280, whereas Giancarlo Lenzi, his biggest rival currently in this race, obviously, did 2:14.952, so 0.7 of a second for the sliding fin.
And that is what clean track can sometimes do to you. Giancarlo Lenzi is still under pressure from Jarrett Lawson, right on the tail of Lenzi in that 02 machine, and that means that Lenzi is having to keep an eye on his rearview mirror pretty much all the time, whereas that number 19 machine, as Lawson tries to look down to the inside, that was going to be a risky manoeuvre in any circumstance. But Antti Tuominen in that number 19 machine has got a clear track all around him. He doesn't need to be worrying about playing a defensive line. He can just drive how he needs to drive, and that is how, in some ways, he's being able to gap this field at about a second a lap. As you see Jarrett Lawson coming under pressure from James Stevenson. 2 wide as they come down towards the end of this backstretch. Who's going to be able to be the last of the late breakers? They come into the corner. Stevenson manages to get the position for the moment. As Lenzi goes off track down, he's going to cut the course there. He's going to have to give up that position, but he's not going to let James Stevenson get away with it easily. Running in the middle of the racetrack as Lenzi is off track yet again.
Yeah, what was that move? I mean, it almost looks like he had a puncture or something, lost his steering or something, because that was weird. He turned into the right-hander like 50 yards before he actually needed to.
And then, as he tried to get himself recorrected, he just clipped that white line just a little bit, and that's what spun his car off down into the grass. It does look as though he'd be able to recover for the moment, but he's lost himself all types of position, and he's being lapped now by Kevin Brown, Joe DeBargardner, and Russell Clayson. So Giancarlo Lenzi has lost out big time there.
Yeah, let's have a look at what's happening in the chat from the helicopter view. He's currently running in the back straight, and while behind Lenzi, the Lawson and I can't remember the other guy was going, Stevenson I think it was, going too wide. But look at Giancarlo Lenzi diving into the left kink right here. And now what goes on? He just loses, he loses the rear end just slightly, a small snap. He does the correction move, but just corrects the car slightly too much. Then has to let one of the cars by to remove the black flag. Goes a bit wide to the downhill left-hander, clips the grass, and ends up spinning yet again. So just that's the only mistake it takes around that section of corners to ruin your race completely.
And just as you were saying that, Lenzi, trying to obviously get back into this race, just rear-ended Matthew Reinhold there. And these guys are now fighting for, it's essentially 19th position overall in the MX5 divisions. That is 9th and 10th. Lenzi really wanting to get back into this race, but forcing other drivers off the racetrack probably isn't the best way to go about it. And he looks like he's being held up a little bit as they go through the S's, down towards turn number 12 once again. But I wouldn't be surprised if Lenzi's got himself just a little bit of damage there.
Yeah, but it's heavily sideways going out of the oak tree corner like we saw 2 times already without any damage. So looks like Lenzi's just either he's overdriving that car way out of his hands, or then it just simply does have damage. But yeah, I mean even the smallest damage appears very heavily on this car, especially if it's related anyhow to the steering. Under braking, this car is just impossible to control with even the slightest damage. But I have to say that while we had to look at the replay of Lenzi's small correction maneuver that caused him to go over the grass, behind him, I'm surprised Lawson just gave up that right-hand side of the track because they were going too wide to a small left kink, followed by a deep right-hander, and at least from what my personal racing experience, the guy in the inside, in this case the right-hand side, to the inside of the right-hander, would give you the edge. And interested that he just pulled off and let the guy have the position.
Yeah, whilst you are on the, should we say, unoptimal line into left-hander, the next corner being a right-hander means that you have got overall the optimal line. But meanwhile, out front in the Mustang division, Trace McRae has pitted from the lead. He's now down into 5th position, giving the lead over to Oscar Charlin in the number 84 machine. So Trace McRae has made a pit stop, giving himself the lead away there. And now Oscar Charlin is leading by 8 seconds to Russell Clayton in the number 22 machine.
Yeah, Oscar Charlin and Russell Clayton, the only 2 Mustangs yet to make their mandatory pit stop. Meanwhile, in the MX-5's Antti only Mustang that has not yet pitted, but we're getting close to the mandatory pit stop window. But at the same time, at the moment, Antti's gap is more than enough to maintain the lead once he comes out of the pit stop. So far, I would say that as soon as currently we have all but
Antti's coming into pit lane. He's into pit lane in the number 90.
Yeah, that was an excellent move, because I was just about to say that all other MX-5s except the top 3 have been lapped so far by the Mustangs. So Antti did an excellent strategy there. He knew that was basically a textbook guide right there, because he knew that once you get overtaken by the Mustangs, you lose a lot of time. Every lap some faster guy flies by you. So Antti had a clear track up until this point, and as soon as he saw that there's a lap cars approaching and the faster Mustangs coming, he went to the pits, because now he maximized his clear track time, and I'd say he planned it to perfection right here.
Yeah, having a look down, so there's going to be 2 wires coming to turn number 1. Stevenson just managing to get past there as they come down into turn number 1. It looked as though Antti was going to try and make the counter-attack. We saw Ricky Dalton going all the way off track in the final corner whilst that was all going on. But James Stevenson just managing to take the lead. Meanwhile, Antti Turman is coming under all sorts of pressure from Jarrett Lawson. The 2 almost connecting to go through turn number 3. But it did look as though Antti Turman has put himself right into contention in this race now. He's less than half a second behind the overall race leader in the Mazda MX-5s.
Yeah, but we still have to remember that Antti just came out of the pits. Meanwhile, the other guys, James Stevenson, Jarrett Lawson, have been fighting with the same tires for 7, 8, 9 laps. So Antti has fresh tires, and look, coming out of the oak tree this time by will be interesting to see how good of a run does Antti get out of this turn, because the new tire model with these cars gives you hell of a grip with the first 2 laps. So will be interesting to see if Antti makes an aggressive move, because now it's time to do that if you wish to win the race, because he has tons of grip compared to the other 2 guys. As we see, they have a lot wider exit coming out of the oak tree, as I said.
Having a look as they come down that long back straightaway, it does look as though Antti's got a little bit of a slipstream as they come down. Is it going to be enough? I don't think it will be just yet, but unless he absolutely manages to nail his braking, he's looking down to the inside as they come into the corner. This is what we were talking about earlier. He's going to have to try and get himself cleared. It looks as though he's going to be able to do so. Back to the lead goes Antti Turman in the number 90 machine from Jay Stevenson. I think that Stevenson just gave up that position to him a little bit, to be perfectly honest, knowing the fact that that number 90 car has got so much fresher rubber on his car. It was pretty much almost pointless trying to fight him.
Ooh, Antti goes wide!
Lawson right behind.
Antti goes wide into the last turn.
So all that hard work has been undone there by the number 90. He's dropped back to a good 7-8 seconds now as they come down past the start-finish line. And we'll keep an eye on exactly just how big that gap is.
I was just about to say that coming into the right-hander at the back straightaway, I was just about to say that I don't think James Stevenson gave him that corner. I was just once they came into the braking zone, I was saying that James did exactly what I thought everyone else would do. The last 2 attempts we saw in that particular corner, he just stick his right-hand side, did not give an inch, but the difference was Antti's tires were too fresh. He simply had way too much grip there in the inside line over the curb, and he still can just floor the brake pedal and get the car to stop. So I don't think James gave in anything for free, but he just simply did not have enough grip to prevent Antti from going through. But as soon as Antti came out of that turn, I think he just overdrove the corners.
Yeah, so we'll have a look to see whether he can hunt down these 2 drivers of James Stevenson and Jarrett Lawson in the Mazda MX-5. Meanwhile, in the Ford Mustang class, Oscar Sarling is still your race leader, with Trace McRae right behind him in the number 69 machine as they come up to lap the Mazda MX-5 of Giancarlo Lenzi. His race has gone from bad to worse over the last couple of laps. It looks as though McRae is closing down pretty quickly on that number 84 of Oscar Sarling. Whether or not he'll be able to make a move as they come down to the Oak Tree corner is not going to be close enough this time by. This does seem as though the back straightaway is the best place to try and make a pass today. As you see Charlin getting ever so slightly sideways to come out the corner. This is going to give McRae a good opportunity as they come down this long back straightaway to try and get the slipstream. But as they do, it does actually look at the moment that Charlin's faster in the straight line.
Yeah, that's even though the Trace McRae's lap times so far in this race have been dominant, he's the only guy below 2 minute 06. His fastest lap time being 2:05.4. Still, I have to say that if his setup is, if the car is set up to be fast around the corners, he does lack the speed in the straights. But having said that, the majority of the as we're carrying the last right-hander right here to the long back main straightaway, sorry. You need that grip to get the car to turn in properly through that last corner, and if Trace's car has been set up to a corner complex is good, he's able to launch the car out of the corner and basically neutralize the speed advantage at the end of the straight. He's diving the inside right now, but just give it a little peek, but nothing dramatic yet. But I'd say Trace McRae definitely has the car and the tools to fight for the victory.
Oh yeah, he did have a look down to the inside of turn number 1. Wasn't anywhere near close enough. Just saying, hello, I am there, waiting for you to make a mistake. As they come through this series complex again. Remember, we've got once again a Mazda MX-5 ahead. That is that of Hang Ho Tao, who is going to possibly come into factor as they come through these sweeping section of corners. Once you get into the sight of a Mazda, you do close remarkably quickly. So Oscar Charlin is your race leader in the Ford Mustang class, with Trace McRae in second, JD Bargardman in third, as they come down and say, this is what I mean, now Charlin is going to get held up by Tao, and this is going to allow McRae to potentially try and make a move, as Charlin is going to have to try and pick a line as they both go trying to see if they can get down to the inside. Tao intelligently just moves out of the way, and you see there Charlin going wide. That gives the race lead back to Trace McRae. And Joni, that must have just been a case of Charlin just getting a little bit unsighted as he was trying to plan his move over the number 10 MX-5.
Yeah, that's the big classic routine around that corner. I mean, like we said during the pace lap and during the first few laps of the race, once you go into that oak tree, the inside line, the corner is basically halfway blind, because you can see the apex, but you cannot see the outside apex, outside curb. And once you get the car to turn in, you all of a sudden you have a half a second comfort of, yep, I nailed that corner, and all of a sudden you see the curb, and your car is still nowhere near completing the first of the two right-handers. And like right there, just Oscar just completed the pass to MX-5, just went slightly too deep into the corner and just clipped the grass, and yeah, that's what happens. That's the same thing with that's the fourth clipping the grass that we've seen this race so far, and every time the outcome has been the same. Just impossible to save that car once you go to the grass.
So we are over 1/3 distance here at Virginia International Raceway, and it's been green. Story of the race so far, it has been green the entire way here in round 4 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, sponsored by Safecraft Racing. Your home for safety harnesses, belt and head nets. Drive fast, be safe with Safecraft Racing.
Currently looking at the looking at the MX-5 results right now, but the standings at the moment. The leader of the MX-5's James Stevenson, the number 11 car, as with Antti Tuominen take the lead a couple of laps ago, but then losing it coming out of the last turn, lost 8 seconds. The gap is now down to under 5 seconds, so 0.6 of a second per lap. Antti is catching James Stevenson, and Giancarlo Lenzi, the guy that did a small mistake in front of James Stevenson a few laps before that, he dropped down to 9th position, and he's climbed his way back up into 7th.
Yes, the story of the race so far in the Mazda MX-5. A number of drivers pitting early as the caution is out on the racetrack for the first time. Caution is out, and I'm not sure what incident that was. I'm going to have to go back and have a look at that, but it does look as though caution is out on the speedway, sorry, on the racetrack even for the first time. So the pace car will regroup the field.
I'm seeing in the telemetry, I'm seeing Bill Daly or James Stevenson involved, but I don't think it was James Stevenson.
Having a look back, and at the moment the caution flag flew, there wasn't actually any. Oh, sorry, Eric Biggs was going very slowly on the exit of the Oak Tree corner in the number 16. That, I believe, was what threw the caution flag in a two-car incident involving Eric Biggs just sliding around the racetrack, collecting the Ford Mustang, the 84 machine of Oscar Salin. So we're under our first full course caution of the day here at Virginia International Raceway.
I would say that plays in favor of Giancarlo Lenzi.
Yeah, that allows the 02 machine to get back into this race after a dismal first portion of this race. We saw him go off track and losing a ton of time earlier on. Also having a little bit of contact with one of the slower cars. I believe it was the number 8 of Joseph Peak, as he was trying to make his way back through the field. So for Lenzi, this is going to be a blessing for him. For Trace McRae, he was your race leader. Well, still is your race leader, sorry. But he'd pulled out a nice little gap again. But this now is going to be negated, and that is one of the things in this Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, Joni, is you've got to be able to, you know, keep your concentration when these caution comes out and on these starts and restarts.
Indeed, and actually, in the Mustangs, if you just overheat your tires just right now, as everyone has completed their mandatory pit stops, and I don't think anyone is going into the pits. Right? Well, they can pit during the pace car, but if your tires are just completely gone, that would be recommendable, because we still have a good 50 minutes of racing left. But as for those who just got up to pace and started to lose slightly grip, but the car was okay, the pace car gives you the opportunity to cool down your tires, and that's a good thing, especially for the Mustangs.
Yeah, one of the things that is interesting at this racetrack is, because of the pace speed and the length of the track, it does take a while for this field to bunch back up, and that means that even though pit lane will be open, some of these drivers can actually get into pit lane and get back out without losing too many positions. For a driver like Trace McRae, that could prove to be an advantage if he did want to come down pit lane. It's only just now the field is starting to bunch up behind him. And for the Mazda MX-5s, that is compounded because some of these MX-5s are still only literally in the first sector of this racetrack.
Yeah, I'm currently looking at the telemetry right now, and one thing that keeps almost giving me laughs is the fact that I can only see top 3 MX-5s in the lead lap. All the other guys are one lap down, so I'll be interested to see how the field is sorted out in this case, because if that's the case and we're going to get a restart right under these circumstances, that means that the top 3 MX-5s basically lap the entire MX-5 field.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see just how many people are going to get the wave around here. So keeping an eye down pit lane, and Trace McRae dummies down pit lane. Doesn't look as though anyone is going to come down for the moment. If you're at the back of this field, it is possible. Yes, Steve Brown is down pit lane. Having a look down, and see literally Stephen Ashbury is only literally just caused the field, as they are extending this caution due to the fact that some of these drivers are still only halfway around the racetrack. Chris Moran is only just coming through the roller coaster as we speak.
Yeah, the average speed is around this racetrack is not that high, and even though the pace car is doing relatively slow, it does mean that it's still doing like a 50 or 60 miles per hour, and you have top speeds of I don't think it was 120 miles an hour with the MX-5. So it's basically half the speed that you're doing flat out around this racetrack. So it does take you quite a while if you're almost a lap down to catch the pack.
So Jason Boyfogel, the first driver to get the wave around And as he does so, keep an eye, because it will take him quite a while to get round the pace car back up to the pacing field. So depending on how long they've got left of this caution, he might still only catch the field as they're about to go green.
Yeah, it's going to be close because, like I said, the pace lap is lapping the pace lap. Sorry, my English. Pace car is lapping about 3 minutes and 19 seconds per lap, and the lap around this racetrack with a full flat-out speed is 2 minutes and I think it was 2 minutes 17 seconds.
In the region.
Yeah, 2 minutes 17 in MX5 against 3 minutes 15 in the pace car pace. So it's gonna take it 2 full laps to catch this pack.
So it'll be interesting to see what race control do, whether they extend the caution one more time to allow these cars to catch back up to the racetrack, to the racing pack. And obviously, if you have Mustangs and MX5s both trying to get the wave around at the same time, it does create a number of difficulties for some of these Mustangs, especially as they want to get back into this race, but they can't overtake any of these Mazda MX5s until the race goes back to green.
Yeah, will be interesting to see, especially now that the mandatory pit stops have gone. Once we go green again, it will be interesting to see who's going to gamble how much during the restart, because now you cannot rely on strategy anymore. You have to overtake whatever you want to take on the track. You cannot do it in the pits anymore.
So drivers that have been waved around the pace car so far: Jason Beifogel, Hang Hotel, Eric Biggs, Giancarlo Lenzi, Joseph Peak, Matthew Rainhouse, Stephanie Merrin, Stephen Ashbury, John Montoya. Pretty much the entirety of the MX5 field as we're waiting for Chris Moran and Ryan Worley potentially to get wave around as well. They are all going to get wave around the pace car, and the pace car itself has still got the lights on. We'll keep an eye on it to see whether or not the lights go off this time by.
Yeah, currently looking at Jason Beifogel on the screens right now, and as we can see, the pace car was approaching the end of the back straightaway as we came on board Jason Beifogel, and at the time we came in, he was only at the end of the front straight, so he gained like 30 to 40 seconds.
Joseph Peak actually running off track in his aim to try and get right round track, and this is going to mean that Matthew Reinhold is going to have to slow down to let them back ahead of him before this race goes green again. So Joseph Peak now has to try and overtake Matthew Reinhold to prevent Reinhold from getting a black flag.
Yeah, I really think that the race marshals are going to give an extra pace lap until we go green, so these guys don't suffer that much from the wave around, because even though, well, you never suffer from the wave around, especially if you were a lap down, but it would be ridiculous to just set the green flag once the guys that got the wave around to be in a halfway point of the lap once you go green. So I think they will bring extra lap. Not sure, but I would say so.
Well, the lights are currently off on the pace car, so we are scheduled to go back to green flag racing this time by. The pace car is pretty much just having a look to see what a pace car is. He's in the first sector, but some of these drivers are literally not that far ahead of the pace car. John Montoya, for example, is only about 20 seconds ahead.
Yeah, like we said, the pace car is lapping 3 minutes a lap, and the MX-5s flat out around this racetrack do a 2 minutes 15s. So if the pace car does 2 laps, it's 6 minutes in total, and it takes 3 laps. 3 laps from the MX-5s to get that time back, basically, since they start a lap down. So catching the pace car is not like getting like a wave around the Texas Super Speedway. I mean, with the Impala A car, which takes about 40 seconds. This is way longer.
Yeah, it does look as though Jason Beifogel will manage to catch this pack up. Probably the same for Hang Hotel. Eric Biggs might just catch him in time with Giancarlo Lenzi. But for these drivers, I mean, we're under caution here. So, but these drivers are literally having to go as fast as they can if they're going to have any chance of getting back into this race. With a driver like Giancarlo Lenzi that's been on the back foot for the last half an hour or so, he's going to want to get himself back into position. And if he doesn't push himself hard enough now, he's going to, you know, not make it in time, but he doesn't want to push his tyres too hard, so they go off.
Yeah, this is a tricky situation for all the MX-5s out there, but let's just hope that they don't overrun and go off tracks and into the tire barriers or something. So we would need extra laps, because every time the pace car does a lap, it's a 3.5 minutes of spoiled racing, should I say. But I mean, nothing wrong in getting pace car out, but sticking behind the pace car because of pointless off tracks would be just devastating to watch the race, which as so far it has provided some of the best racing so far in this series. Do you think?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. As you got to see just for a moment the new Bird model, or affectionately known as the NBM, come into play as a pace car is coming towards the end of the lap. We are scheduled to go back to green flag racing with Trace McRae as your leader, Oscar Charlin in second, JD Bogardner in third, Russell Clayton in fourth. In the Ford Mustangs, in the MX-5, Shane Stevenson is your leader, with Antti Turunen in second, Jarrett Lawson in third, Jason Bifoken in fourth. Pace car is about to pull in, so we'll go back to green flag racing any second now, as the pace car comes to the right. Trace McKay accelerates. We're back to green flag racing here, and just to give you a heads up, some of these MX-5s are literally just at Oak Tree Corner.
Yeah, I'm looking at the telemetry, and once we went green, Joseph Peak was 22 seconds behind Giancarlo Lenzi, who was 3 seconds behind Eric Biggs. So, behind Joseph Peak, there's 17 seconds to John Montoya, so even more. So, some of these MX-5s definitely would. I'd say they definitely wish a new caution, but if there won't be, they're gonna have their work day cut off for them, because. I don't think they have enough time to catch the pack anymore.
Everyone pretty much safely through the first sector of this racetrack on the restart. And I tell you what, we haven't talked about this, but that number 19 machine of Antti Turunen, he's got himself a little bit of a second chance, because we talked about how he almost lost this race earlier on by losing it into, I believe, the final corner. He's got himself a second chance, but on that restart, Giancarlo Lenzi, Eric Biggs and Hang Hotel have gone past him, having a look to see whether anything happened on that restart to him. As Giancarlo Lenzi looking down to the inside, trying to make the move, and Eric Biggs not happening this time.
Yeah, looking at the restart, I think Antti went off during turns 1 and 2. Look, he had an off track once as soon as we don't know exactly what caused the off track, but he had an off track as soon as we went green again.
Yeah, just bringing clarification on that, he had contact with the number 25 machine of Jarrett Lawson coming into the NASCAR corner in turn number 3. That 90-degree left-hand, it did look as though Antti got himself a little bit of damage in the process, but lost him all sorts of positions. And on these restarts, this is what you don't want to do. If you go off track now, you lose yourself 6-7 positions instantly. And he's looking down now on the right-hand side of Eric Biggs, trying to make the move on that number 16 machine. Too wide, too deep as they come down, trying to switch from the right to left hand side of the track. As you see Giancarlo Lenzi, he's going to go off track again, and a 2-car collects Hang Hotel, 2 cars off the racetrack. Are we going to stay green here?
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Antti Turunen. 3 places during one lap, one personal overtaking and 2 guys collecting each other out in the right-hander. So Antti just probably going to wish that the top 3 are going to do the same.
Yeah, so very lucky there for Antti Turunen there, as he had a horrible restart, as we talked about in turn number 3. But he's managed to make himself a lot of that back up, partially because of himself, but because the guys ahead of him just decided that they wanted to play bumper carts. In the Ford Mustang division, however, Trace McRae is once again your race leader, with Oscar Starling in second, JD Bargardner in third, Russell Clayton in fourth. Top 4 drivers currently separated by less than 3 seconds. But I tell you what, that battle for 3rd and 4th position does look as though it's going to be. And sorry, Antti Turunen has got himself a black flag, 25-second penalty for him for, I believe, that contact in turn number 3 on the restart we were talking about.
Yeah, that's a crushing news for one of the MX-5s who at the beginning of the race, ever since the beginning of the race, had a good chance to win the race, and. That 25 seconds black flag is, unless we have a caution under which he would be able to suffer that penalty, I think that puts him at the back of the line and way too far behind to have any chance of catching up the pack.
So for Antti Tuomainen, he's going to have to now come down pit lane, stop in his pit box and serve himself a black flag penalty delivered by race control. And that is going to be heartbreaking. He managed to get himself on that restart from 2nd down to 7th and then back up to 4th in the space of a lap in the Mazda MX-5 division. His race pretty much, unless he's get a caution, will be over. Although it looks as though he might have had his black flags cleared. We'll keep an eye on that to see whether or not this is just race control sorting out his penalty. But meanwhile, Dave Stevenson is your race leader in the Mazda MX-5 division, with Jarrett Lawson in 2nd position, about a second behind. Coming under a little bit of pressure from Jason Beifogel in the number 34 B Racing Machine, with Tuomainen, his car has got himself some right side rear damage. Wouldn't be surprised to see where he's got some left side damage as well, where he collected that car in turn number 3. But your top 3 in the Mazdas are separated by currently about 3 seconds.
Yeah, top 3 having a good fight, and I think in case that's a final decision to cancel out the black flag, I think it was because even though he clipped the one car going to turn 3, he did lose. Started 2nd in that restart, dropped down to 7th. So I think losing 5-6 places around the racetrack is a penalty enough. I think that's what the race marshals thought.
And now Jarrett Lawson has been black flagged in the number 25 machine. And this was the other car who was involved in that incident. Jarrett Lawson was involved in that incident with, with Antti Tuomainen on that restart. I'm just having a look back personally at the replay, and honestly, I'm not quite sure whether or not that is a fair penalty, to be fair, because having a look back, it did look as though the number 90 machine was the one that kind of turned into the 25 of Lawson, but it looks as though Lawson's the one that's going to have to pay the penalty. This is going to give a little bit of breathing space to James Stevenson in the number 11.
And let's get a replay of that, exactly what happened with that particular incident. We're going through the horseshoe right now, turn 1. Antti Tuomainen is in the inside line of the corner here, and take a helicopter view. Sorry, we just jumped into the wrong car here. Right, good time to do that. Let's have a quick rewind of that. Currently, yep, here we go again. Antti Tuomainen in the bottom side of the screen right here. The blue car on top of him would be the other penalized car. Let's see, coming into turn 3 right here. Yeah, I would definitely say that number 90 car was to blame for that. He just turned in right to this other car's quarter panel.
But it looks as though that Lawson's going to have to pay the price for that, seeing whether he's coming down pit lane this time by to serve his penalty. And it does look as though he is slowing down to pace speed. Don't get yourself another black flag in the process. He slows the car down to 45 miles an hour. That is your pit lane speed. So he's going to have to serve a penalty. We'll see just where that feeds him back out in the MX-5 divisions. Meanwhile, in the Ford Mustang, battle for 2nd and 3rd position is still going on between Oscar Silent and JD Borgardmer, as the number 25 Jarrett Lawson taking himself some tyres whilst he has his penalty. To be fair, I don't understand why he's doing that, because that's just going to lose him even more time. It takes a good 25 seconds to change the tyres here. He's got himself tyres, he's back out onto the racetrack now, and let's just see why he feeds back into this race. Does look as though Matthew Reinhold is just managed to get past, so that means that
8th place.
Lawson, yeah, is down to 8th.
Yeah, I'm not sure if are you sure that Lawson was punished for that particular incident? Because if it was, I also find that a bit weird.
Yeah, for Lawson, it's weird, because first of all, he got the black flag penalty, but secondly, he was able to take tyres on his penalty stop, which is going to, in some ways, give himself a little bit of an advantage as he tries to make his way back through this field. So, interesting decisions by race control. We'll see whether or not we can get some more information once this race is over. And the caution is out here at Virginia International Raceway for the 2nd time. Having a look back, it is Giancarlo Lenzi involved in an incident with Hang Hotel in the number 10 machine. Again in the Oak Tree corner, and cautions out for the second time. Giancarlo Lenzi's car is all bent up. The same applies to Hang Hotel in the number 10 machine. But for Lawson, this is a blessing, because he's now got fresh tyres.
Indeed, I'm currently looking at the replay of Giancarlo Lenzi in the Oak Tree, and coming through the tight corner complex, and approaching the Oak Tree right here. 6th place for Giancarlo Lenzi. Let's see what happens. Just slightly to the grass, but nothing dramatic so far. But well, I don't think I don't think Lenzi did anything wrong there. Yeah, well, I'll take that back. It was the car in front of Lenzi who just had it sideways going around the Oak Tree. Lenzi had to dodge him to the slippery grass, came back, thought he was safe, went on the throttle, just slid his car around again, and the car behind him just had nowhere to go and slammed right into the nose of Giancarlo Lenzi.
And once again, Antoman has had a black flag, so it looks as though race reversing their decision. So that number 9 machine is going to have to serve a penalty. Whether that's going to be end of the longest line or whether it will be a stop and go is yet to be seen.
Or whether we'll have reversal.
So Aston Field brings itself back to pace car. In the Mazda MX-5, James Stevenson is your race leader in the number 11. Jason Braithwaite in second. Antti Turunen is currently sat in third, but as you just said, he has a black flag penalty, which will promote Eric Biggs into the third position in the number 16 machine. Meanwhile, in the Ford Mustangs, Trace McRae is still your race leader, from Oscar Sardin in second and JD Bogard in third. You're watching round 4 of 10 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, sponsored by Safeguard Racing. You're home for safety harnesses, belts and head nets. Drive fast, be safe with Safeguard Racing.
Yeah, and this time, unlike in the last restart where we had almost half the MX-5 field trying to catch the pace pack, this time we're not going to have that much problems, because the only car one lap down currently running in this race is Chris Moran, number 19 car in the 13th spot in the MX-5. So we're going to have a packed restart here.
Oh yeah, definitely. So it'll be just like on the initial restart, where the field are going to come storming down towards turn number 1. And with just over half an hour to go, it is possibly time to start talking about the magical offset that those of you who are regulars to the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series will know about. The offset of this racetrack, because of the long pace car lap, is about 5 minutes. So we'll have to keep a huge eye on that as this race comes towards its conclusion.
Yeah, as you see the timer at the bottom right of the screen go to 0 and then start climbing back up, it's because of the offset that is caused by iRacing telemetry currently. I'm apologizing that we're trying to figure out currently a way around that to cancel that offset, so that you would actually see the official session time that is started as soon as the leader hits the green flag start and finish line, which would be the normal procedure. But at the moment the telemetry offers only the session time, which includes gridding and the long pace lap, so you have to add that to the time you see right here. So as the timer goes to 0, just wait for it to climb back up to 5 minutes, and then we will expect white flag for the race leaders, who currently is, what a surprise, Trace McRae.
And don't forget, tomorrow on Glacier TV we'll have round 2 of the Grand Am Premier Series from Barber Motorsports Park. That will take place at 4 PM GMT. However, don't forget, for everyone in Europe, the clocks will be going forward tonight, so that might throw you into a little bit of confusion, but don't worry, we'll make sure you're on hour on time. And then following on from that, Sunday night prime time will be the Afterburn IndyCar Series from Iowa Speedway, the Iowa 250. And let's not forget, we've also got the Victory Lane Racing Series on tonight here on Glacier. So Joni, as the field's under caution again, and we're doing these beautifully long pace car laps, we can pretty much say that Trace McRae might have the Mustang race in the bag, but in the MX-5 division, there's still a good couple of drivers that have the opportunity to win this race.
Yeah, several drivers have the option to win this race, because James Stevenson currently leading the MX-5 field. Meanwhile, by the way, Giancarlo Lindsay and Hang Ho Tao both in the pits. And Giancarlo Lindsay having 50-second penalty. So 50-second pit stop. But anyway, James Stevenson leading Jason Breifogel, following him right closely. Then currently I have to sort out my telemetry, so excuse me for a second. Yeah, James Stevenson, Jason Breifogel, Eric Biggs right now in third, Jared Lawson fourth, Stefan Morien fourth, fifth, Joseph Peak sixth, Antti Tuominen, the early race leader, is now in seventh. So there are like outside of top four, we have at least 4 different MX-5s that if they manage to catch, when they've managed to catch the pacing pack, they have a strong chance still to even win the whole race, even though they would start the restart in 8th or 9th. So this, at least for MX-5 field, this is going to be a barn burner, I would say.
And let's not forget that a lot of this race has been delivering pressure to force the driver ahead of you into mistakes. And in the MX-5 division especially, we've seen that be the case, as a number of drivers have lost the race, not by overtaking manoeuvres, but by pressure placed upon them by drivers behind, which has forced them off the racetrack. So this race is far from over in both divisions, but especially in the Mazda MX-5s. However, I would still say that Trace McRae is odds-on favourite to win in the Mustangs.
Yeah, definitely. I would give a clear edge to Trace McRae. He's been the dominant force of the series this year, and 0.7 of a second faster lap time in his personal best in this race. Oscar Salin being the second fastest Mustang in the race, and 0.7 of a second is a light year with these cars. Trace McRae really is on a charge.
So lights are out on the pace car. We'll be going back to the green flag racing, this time by, as the field are just coming down to get the one to go flag from the flagman. So as you were saying last time, you know, there's no more strategy, no more pit stops to worry about. But for a lot of these drivers, it's got to be, if you're going to make a pass, it's either do what many people have done and force the driver ahead into a mistake, or you've got to make the overtaking manoeuvre on the racetrack. So once again, you are watching round 4 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, sponsored by Safecraft Racing, live on Glacier TV with Will Vincent and Joni Bäckman in the booth. We are currently an hour and 5 minutes into round 4 of 10 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, and its story so far has been Trace McRae has been dominant in the Ford Mustang division. However, in the MX-5, it has literally been anyone's race, with James Stevenson, Jason Breifogel, Antti Tuominen and Giancarlo Lindsay all having opportunity to win this race so far. And as the field comes down once again towards the Oak Tree corner with this one to go.
Yeah, instead of following Trace McRae in this restart, we could track James Stevenson, the leading MX-5 in the field, because I don't think the last restart saw the Mustang spread out pretty fast, but the MX-5 saw a hell of a battle go right as the green flag fly again.
Oh yeah, definitely. That beautiful Mazda MX-5 with James Stevenson. That is definitely going to be a battle to watch between him and Jason Breifogel. Let's not count out Eric Biggs in the number 16 machine, Jarrett Lawson in number 25, who, let's not forget, Jarrett Lawson was the driver who had a black flag penalty earlier on, but took himself some fresh rubber. So he's still in a chance of winning this race. And you've also got drivers like Giancarlo Lenzi, if he's managed to get some repairs to his race car, who can still try and charge up through the field, as well as Antti Turunen. I'm still trying to get confirmation on whether or not he is going to have to serve his penalty under green flag conditions or not, as the pace car is literally in the final sector of the racetrack. We'll be going back to green flag racing with just over 25 minutes, sorry, just under 25 minutes of this race left to go. Pace car is going to once again make that dart down pit lane. So Trace McRae will once again bring the field back to green flag racing, which is us now. We're back to green flag racing here at Virginia.
Yeah, and for position 3 and 4, it's a good battle between Shane Baumgartner and Russell Gleason. Have a look at what went on there. Currently, no changing positions other than Antti Tuominen picking up 2 spots in during the restart. That was a flying restart from Antti.
Oh yeah, brilliant restart by Antti as he's trying to come his way back through the field. Bunching up a little bit in the MX-5 divisions. Daphne Murrian needs to keep it back onto the racetrack. Don't spin the tyres as you do so. He manages to get back on perfectly fine. But meanwhile, Hang Ho Tao has been the latest driver to get a black flag penalty in the Mazda MX-5s.
Yeah, I wonder if the race marshals had some driver pre-race meeting and tell not to cut off tracks too much or similar, because I didn't catch any dramatic errors from Hang Ho Tao, or whether or not it was related to pitting under yellow flag.
We'll try and get confirmation on that one as soon as we can. But I actually believe that once again the black flag has been cleared. But I'll tell you what, Antti Turunen is charging through this field, currently trying to put pressure on the number 16 as he goes wide a little bit, keeping it on the racetrack just. Antti Turunen in the number 90 trying to now put pressure on Eric Biggs in the number 16 machine.
Yes, a good fight going on in the MX-5 field. Meanwhile, like I said, Mustang field sorted itself out pretty fast. The gap spread out to 0.7 seconds or above. Only overtaking we saw in the opening lap was Kevin Brown, the last place positioned Mustang, number 14 car, just got by Ricky Dalton in that restart. So Kevin up into 9th and Ricky down to 10th. Meanwhile, the battle for winning of the MX-5 series heats up dramatically. We have 7 cars, everyone separated by 0.4 or 0.5 of a second.
And here comes Antti Turunen down to make his black flag stop. We talked about him having to potentially do so. He has come down pit lane, so he will lose all the positions that he gained on that restart. It's so annoying when you make up so many positions and then you have to give it all back. Meanwhile, James Stevenson is your leader. Jarrett Lawson putting a ton of pressure upon him as they come through the first sector here, with literally just over 25 minutes left to go. Jason Breyfogle in 3rd, ready to pounce if there's any error by the 2 drivers up front. Eric Biggs in 4th. He's dropped back to about half a second behind this lead pack.
Big braking for Jared Lawson, almost goes into the rear end of James Stevenson over there, and just manages to keep it under control. But that was very close from Lawson, as he saw the early braking of Stevenson very close to going into the grass himself.
Yeah, and these MX-5s, they've got a slower Ford Mustang ahead of them. That is that of Ricky Dalton. As James Stevenson I think these guys are getting a little bit unsighted by the Mustang. They know that that Mustang should be faster, but they're easily able to keep control of them. It's an incident ahead of them. That is Jody Bargardner in the number 63 machine from 3rd position. Just having a look back to see what happened. He literally just got his turning all wrong and almost cut half the racetrack there.
Yeah, that's a tricky section around the racetrack. You can't afford any smallest mistake, and I wouldn't call that a small mistake.
He lost himself a good 15 seconds there, and at the same time you had in the incident Stephanie McPherson from 7th position putting himself into the tyre barrier. So it looks as though he's managed to get himself back onto the racetrack, but he's now right in the middle of this MX-5 train, which currently has James Stevenson with Jarrett Lawson right behind him, Jason Breyfogle these MX-5s looks as though they're going to try and have to overtake Ricky Dalton in the number 42 machine, and at the moment Ricky Dalton is playing the role of Jarno Trulli in the Trulli train.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. For some reason, Ricky is lapping slow enough to MX-5 to actually catch him. So, well, this will be fun because right behind Stevenson, Lawson, and Breifogel, there's Stephen McPherson, number 43 Mustang, trying to find his way around him, and he does not want to get involved in this battle or store the soup in any way, especially if they're going too wide into some place, and even if McPherson is going to get a good run on him, I don't think he's going to risk MX-5's getting clipped out of this race. At least not from his half.
The only possible opportunity that he's going to have to try and swoop over these MX-5s is as they come down the backstretch towards the roller coaster. Just another incident, another driver being black flagged. This time it was definitely Moraine in the number 57. So Stefan Moraine in the number 57 MX-5. He's got himself a black flag. As you see Stefan McPherson closing right up to these MX-5s as they come down towards the Oak Tree corner of corner number 12 once again. If he can get himself close enough and get a good drive out of the corner, he should be able to pass at least two of these MX-5s down the long back straightaway. Yeah, having a look to see whether he's going to have a chance, but he lost a lot of momentum as he went through the corner. Yeah, the speed differential, the top speed difference is just insanity. As we can see right here, it's a 40 kilometers or even more per hour. He just flies right by the first MX-5, and I will think that he will catch the second MX-5 as well. Yeah, with ease. So for McPherson, he managed to literally catch cars at a perfect opportunity. Almost had a look down to the inside to see whether he could pass Stevenson. Not going to happen this time by. He's going to see if he can wait to the front straightaway to be able to do that. And it does look as though in all that tussle, Stevenson's just dropped back a little bit from Ricky Dalton. He's picked up his pace just a little bit, but he's setting lap times of, 2 minutes 16. And let's see what he did this time by. He's picked up his pace for 2 minute 11. So that's why he's been able to pull away from the MX-5s this lap, but only by a couple of seconds. As you see now, McPherson getting past Stevenson, so that is over and done with, and McPherson gets away without losing any time there at all. Yeah, meanwhile Stevenson did a flying lap, 2 minutes 13.7 against the second place of 2:14.5. So 0.8 of a second gap increased by James Stevenson. That was a hell of a lap. I'm still interested to keep an eye on Jarrett Lawson, currently running in the second position. See whether or not he's going to be able to close down in that battle for the lead in the Mazda MX-5 division. Jarrett Lawson also the driver that we talked about earlier being black flag, so he'll be on fresher rubber. And meanwhile, behind these guys in the 7th position, Giancarlo Lenzi is currently flying. He caught Joseph Peak in the 8 car right here on the screen very fast. He's half a second faster than Joseph Peak, and he is really undercharged, but we still have 15 minutes to go, so he does have the option to, looking at the statistics right now, he has option to get past Peak, catch Renault, get past Renault, but after that I don't think the 4th place is, there's going to be enough time for him to reach 4th, but he definitely has a chance for 5th. Ooh, there's a contact on O3! Two cars! I was saying they were very close to collecting each other earlier. Giancarlo Lenzi managed to get past, the caution will be out, and this means we're pretty much going to have 2 laps of racing left here, and Lenzi somehow manages to avoid those 2 drivers as they were going too wide into the Oak Tree corner, and it looks as though literally the number 44 machine of Matthew Reinhold just had the corner but slid around, and then the number 8 machine of Joseph Peak just couldn't stop the car in time, and the 2 collected each other. Yeah, another view of what happened. Yep, just 2 wide going around the Oak Tree with inside guy not giving any space at all, and that's what keeps happening. And simple spin, and that corner, adding to the grass being slippery, that corner is very, very slippery, especially if you have to make adjustments, steering adjustments, additional braking, whatever correction you have to do in the middle of that corner. That's tricky.
And yeah, that almost had problems written all over it once they went too wide, that deep into the corner.
So we're under our third caution of the day here at Virginia International Raceway, round 4 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Challenge on Glacier TV, with literally about 15 minutes left to go. Continental Endurance Sports Car Series is sponsored by Safecraft Racing. You're home for safety harnesses, belts and head nets. Drive fast, be safe with Safecraft Racing. And Joni, with the length of the pace laps here, it looks like literally we're going to go back to green flag racing with maybe 1 or 2 laps to go.
Yeah, we currently have just about 13 minutes to go. It takes 3 minutes per lap behind the pace car, so 2 laps behind the pace car, 2 full laps would mean that we have about 5 or 6 minutes of racing, which means 3 laps. If we have to go additional pace laps, if we have to do a third one, then it almost means that two to go once we go green. But I definitely hope we can survive with just 2 green flag, 2 laps of yellow.
And for a number of these drivers, you know, who are awesome at putting pressure on people like Giancarlo Lenzi, he's managed to fight his way back into this race. This is an interesting situation for him, and also potentially for a couple of people like leader of this race earlier on in the MX-5's Antti Turman, who last time we saw him overtake 3 drivers in the space of about 2 corners. So to run through your order once again, in the Ford Mustang class, your race leader is Trace McRae. In the number 69 machine, Oscar Sarnin in 2nd, Russell Clayton 3rd, David Waters in 4th, Steve Brown in 5th, Kevin Brown in 6th, Jody Bogard, where we talked about him having an off-track incident, literally going halfway round VIR circuit on the grass in 7th, Bill Daly in 8th, Ricky Dalton 9th, and Stephen McPherson in 10th. And in the Mazda MX-5 division, you have James Stevenson in 1st, Sherritt Lawson 2nd, Jason Beifogel 3rd, Eric Biggs in 4th, Giancarlo Lenzi rounds out your top 5, and the caution flag comes back out again, and that means we're going to have at least 2 more laps under the pace car, which brings us up to pretty much 1 hour and 25 minutes.
Yeah, I think there will be about 5 minutes of racing, so at least I'd say 2 to 3 laps to go once we go green, if all goes well. But as much as I hate seeing pace cars, whether it's on road or oval, you know what the funniest thing about this race currently is? We had how many black flags we had? We had black flags, we had off tracks, we had off tracks, we had more black flags, and still Giancarlo Lenzi in 5th spot. Antti Tuominen, having suffered that 25-second black flag, is in 11th spot, but he's right up to the pack.
Correct. And this really is going to start making things interesting for a number of these drivers, as we are currently going to have about 5 minutes left of the race by our watch when we go back to green flag racing. Key thing to do is to have a look at the lights on the pace car. I'll tell you what though, it's so scary having a look at this pace car. For some reason, it does look as though the pace car literally wants to go rallying half the time. So Hang Ho Tao has been waved around the pace car in the number 10 machine. He's going to have to catch all the way back up to the pack, and we talked about how that's going to take a good 2 to 2.5 laps as he does so in the number 10 machine. Meanwhile, pretty much everyone else is caught up to the pace car. Last place on the lead lap is definitely Moraine in the number 57. So on this restart, you're going to have to keep an eye out on a number of things. Trace McRae It's dominated this field so much so far. And let's not forget, being the first guy to be able to accelerate, he's going to be able to get the jump as he needs to. Oscar Salin in second is just going to have to keep an eye on Russell Clayson, who has been pretty good on these restarts for the first couple of laps. But then, when you have a look back to the Mazda MX-5 division, you've got James Stevenson, Jarrett Lawson, Jason Beifogel, Eric Biss, and Carlo Lenzi, who've all still got a shot of having the opportunity to win this race.
Yeah, it's a good shot to win the race. I mean, James Stevenson has been, ever since the first pit stop, James Stevenson has been the fastest MX-5 out there. Well, obviously did good adjustments to tire pressures or anything, because his lap times before the pit stop, his fastest time was 2 minutes 14.6, I think, and now his best is 13.7. So he's with 0.3 of a second fastest MX-5 out there. But behind him, we have Jared Lawson, Giancarlo Lenzi, Antti Tuominen, maybe even what was that? Yeah, those three cars equal in terms of speed, but they're separated 3rd, 5th, and 11th. So this is lots of overtaking is going to be expected in the last few laps of MX-5 field.
So the lights are off on the pace car. We're going to go back to green flag racing with just 5 minutes left here at Virginia International Raceway of round 4 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Challenge on Glacier TV. Will Vincent, Joni, Bäckman in the booth. And let's not forget, later on tonight, we're going to have Victory Lane Racing, the NASCAR Impala Bees, doing their stuff, I believe, at Darlington, if I got that right. If not, I've got it completely wrong, and I apologise. And then tomorrow we're going to have, Texas even, Texas, Darlington, I'm sure you know, same thing, different track, different length. And then tomorrow we're going to have round 2 of the iRacing Grand Am Premier Series on Glacier TV from Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama. And then tomorrow evening, the Afterburn IndyCar Series goes prime time with the Iowa 250. So entire weekend once again of racing on Glacier TV, as we do every weekend long. Pace car currently going through the first sector. Trace McRae is leading the the Ford Mustang field as they come down with the 1 to go. And keep an eye out for a couple of drivers, Russell Clayson, especially in the Ford Mustang division, Jason Beifogel, Jarrett Lawson in the Mazda MX-5, and also Giancarlo Lenzi in that 02 car. Those 3 drivers in the MX-5s really have got a chance of causing a bit of an upset. But the one thing we're going to not want to do is have a caution to end this race.
Yeah, definitely. We had way too much cautions already. I mean, not that a caution would be a bad thing in this case, especially with so many black flags. It's good to see all the guys punished for black flags still get a decent chance to fight for points instead of hot lapping themselves to the end. But I just ending a race under caution is never a fun thing to see. I mean, always fun to see everyone going all at it until the start and checkered flag. But yeah, I can't wait. Currently following David Waters in the 76 car in 4th place, and around him there's an interesting pack of cars. Russell Clayson in front of him, like you said, Steve Brown in 5th, Kevin Brown in 6th. So that pack of 4 Mustangs is gonna, I think they're gonna duke themselves out for the third to 6th spot in this race. But I think the top 2 is already, at least in paper, it's already written. Trace McRae and Oscar Salin are just lapping so much faster than the rest of the field of Mustangs. So I'd say the top 2 has been already given, unless there's a dramatic mistake as we get ready to go green.
Yeah, and keep an eye out also for JD Bargard. We talked about how he an off-track incident. He's managed to get himself back into contention, currently riding in 7th position. Keep an eye out on him. Keep an eye out on the MX-5s. We're going to go back to green flag racing with, I believe, just 2 laps potentially to go. Pace car pulls in. Trace McRae will bring the field back to green flag racing here at Virginia. Single file all the way as they come down. As you see, David Waters immediately looking to the left-hand side as green flag is back out in the air. Steve Brown also looking to the outside. with Kevin Brown, Jody Gargardner, all looking to try and get track position. Meanwhile, in the MX-5s, you just see how Jarrett Lawson has been able to get the jump for the moment. Eric Biggs currently running in third, and the two wide all the way down as they come through the Ford Mustangs. James Stevenson looking as though he's going to once again try and put pressure on Ricky Dalton. He doesn't seem to enjoy these starts and restarts, but having a look back, it does look as though a couple of drivers are trying their very best. Giancarlo Lenzi is currently sat in 5th position, wanting to work over Eric Biggs. But for the most part, everyone's still single file as they come through this twisty section of the racetrack. It's a lot more twisty as it looks. You see Jarrett Lawson for the lead over James Stevenson. That was one amazing overtaking manoeuvre. The two almost caused contact, but that number 25 with Jarrett Lawson, we talked about how it wasn't over in the Mazda MX-5s, and for the moment, it looks as though Lawson has got himself the point with 1.5 laps to go.
I mean, well, Giancarlo Lenzi behind them in the green car, just all over the place of, I believe that's Eric Biggs in front of him. Number 16 car, just Lenzi just pulls back just slightly, but that was insane move by Jarrett Lawson, takes the lead away from James Stevenson. That was the last place that you would expect someone to dive in. And the contact was an inch away. In fact, I think there was a bit of a quarter panel touch, but nothing dramatic.
It's definitely Moran. It's been black flagged once again by race control. The top 6 drivers in the Mazda MX-5 are separated by less than 3 seconds. Meanwhile, in the in the Ford Mustangs, Trace McRae, of course, is your race leader. Oscar Sarlin in 2nd, Russell Clausen in 3rd. We're going to go back to this Mazda MX-5 division as James Stevenson looking down to the left-hand side as they come down into the roller coaster. Stevenson looks as though he's going to have the inside, but this is what we talked about, having the...
Oh, Lenzi goes off track heavily. Giancarlo Lenzi goes off track heavily in the right-hander.
But Stevenson managing to get himself back into the race lead here, as I believe we'll be coming down to the white flag this time by. Jarrett Lawson is going to have 1 lap to try and make that position back on James Stevenson. Jason Bryfogle in 3rd, Eric Biggs in 4th, Giancarlo Lenzi. Huge off-track incident as they came down into the roller coaster, getting himself all sideways as they went down into that left-hander. Looks as though just outshot, broke himself a little bit, spun the car around, just managed to avoid Eric Biggs. But meanwhile, as we come down onto the white flag lap, a couple of drivers really pushing themselves here. Stevenson knows that last time by, Jarrett Lawson made a big move on him. He's going to be trying to have another go, but it looks like he's gapped himself just for the moment. Don't forget, however, Ricky Dalton still could come into play here, as he doesn't like his Ford Mustang by the look of it for the first 2 laps. In the Ford Mustang division, Trace McRae is your leader by about 1 second over Oscar Sarlin. Unless Sarlin's really got something left in the tank, doesn't look as though he's going to be able to get too close. Russell Clayton's currently in 3rd, with David Waters in 4th, Steve Brown in 5th, with Kevin Brown in 6th.
Oh, there the Trace McRae goes very wide coming out of the oak tree. I wonder if he had to lift. Yeah, he did have to lift quite a bit, and Oscar Sarlin is hounding on him coming into the right-hander.
For the lead then, Oscar Sarlin on the final lap. Could he try and steal this victory away from Trace McRae? He's going to have the left side line. This is going to be advantageous as they come to the first part of the corner. But then McRae's going to have the optimal line as going to the second part. It doesn't look as though Sarlin's quite going to have enough. And is he going to try to cut over? Not going to happen unless he somehow manages to get something done in the last couple of corners. But Trace McRae looks as though he's dodged himself a huge bullet here at Virginia International Raceway. Down into the final 2 corners. Trace McRae, has he really been able to dodge this bullet as they come down past the start-finish line? And I believe so. We are potentially going to have ourselves 1 more lap here. So the white flag is now out this time by. Trace McRae has 1 more lap, just the way the timing worked. I think they literally crossed the line with seconds remaining. That's the pace. Did you see that? Oscar Sarlin really hounding Trace McRae now into a mistake as they come down into turn number 1. And Russell Clayton still in 3rd position, but it's all happening here on the racetrack. James Stevenson is still leading in the Mazda MX-5 division. Jarrett Lawson still putting a ton of pressure upon him. Jason Bryfogle running in 3rd, Matthew Reinhauer in 4th, Stephen Ashby in 5th, currently being overtaken by Eric Biggs. That's about for 5th position, and in the same time, Antti Turman manages to get past at the same time over Stephen Ashby. So he's lost himself a couple of positions. For the moment, meanwhile, it looks as though Trace McRae has just a couple of seconds to try and breathe.
Yeah, that must have been like a tenth of seconds, the distance that the white flag and the checkered flag, because the telemetry, I mean, the automated system was giving it a checkered flag already, so that must have been seconds.
So Trace McRae in that battle had to do himself one more lap of defending from Oscar Sarden. Looks like he's going to get himself onto the backstretch properly this time. Just got himself a little bit wide on exit, but he'll be able to get away with that. Oscar Sarden's not going to get anywhere near the run he had last time by. So unless Trace McRae makes a mistake in the next couple of corners, it looks as though he's going to be able to get away with the win in this race here at Virginia. Meanwhile, James Stevenson looks like for the moment he's got himself into position to win the Mazda MX-5 division, as Jarrett Lawson has fallen back. But with Matthew Reinhold, I believe he's got himself up into second position in the Mazda MX-5, into third position. So Jarrett Lawson has lost out to Jason Stevenson, is going to be leading as they come down to the final lap. Meanwhile, Trace McRae comes down past the start-finish line. He will win round 4 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series on Glacier TV. He picks up the win from Oscar Starling, gap across the line, 6/10 of a second. Russell Clayton comes home third. Kevin Brown comes home in the 4th position. JD Bargardner will come home in 5th, with Bill Daly in 6th, Stephen McPherson 7th, David Waters in 8th, and Ricky Dalton just crossing the line now, as James Stevenson's going to come home to win the Mazda MX-5 division. Jarrett Lawson has got himself passed by Matthew Reinhold.
Yeah, I think...
Jason Breifogel. Jason Breifogel comes home 2nd. Matthew Reinhold 3rd, Jarrett Lawson 4th, Eric Biggs in 5th, Antti Tuomen in 6th.
Yeah, that was a 500th of a second between Jarrett Lawson and Eric Biggs on the start and finish line over there. Excellent line defending with Jarrett Lawson. Took the inside line, just prevented that extra few hundreds away from Eric Biggs.
So in so many ways, we knew who the winner was going to be in the Mustang division. For a moment, it looked as though Oscar Sarden was going to win the race, but Trace McRae in the number 69 Ford Mustang takes overall victory and victory in the Ford Mustang division. Oscar Sarden comes home 2nd, Russell Clayton in 3rd, Kevin Brown in 4th, and JD Bogardman rounds out your top 5. In the Mazda MX-5 division, confirmation of your result: James Stevenson in 1st, Jason Breifogel 2nd, Matthew Reinhold 3rd, Jarrett Lawson in 4th, and Eric Biggs will round out your top 5.
Yeah, I have to say that pretty eventless race overall from the Mustang field. A few nice overtakings we saw, but we saw a hell of a fight throughout the field in MX-5. So I cannot keep saying, can't tell enough how well this track suits for MX-5s and Solstice and the slower stock cars. It's just unbelievable track to drive.
So Joni, I mean, one of the obvious contenders for driver of the race would have had to have been Trace McRae, completely dominant, but at the same time some determined effort from the Mazda MX-5 contingency.
Yeah, every time we have had the driver of the race, I always keep saying I hate long distance hot laps. So I wouldn't personally call Trace McRae runner of the race, but my favorites would be equally Giancarlo Lenzi and Antti Tuomen, and they both got punished several occasions by themselves, or because of them, or not. But still, those guys just went all out for it. They did several excellent overtakings, close situations, black flags, and still, well, Giancarlo Lenzi suffering that huge crash near the end at the last right-hander, or the second to last right-hander. But if that crash would have given minus points, I would give Antti Tuomen the driver of the race. His initial pit strategy was awesome, and if he wouldn't had the black flag issue, I really think that he would have given James Stevenson a run for his money.
Oh yeah, I definitely believe that number 90 machine of Antti Tuomen win the strategy call of the race, because that was an amazing strategy call. While everyone else came down in the first 3 or 4 laps, Anti-Turman stayed out in that number 90 machine, knowing that the length of this lap means that he could get himself into some clean air, not have to worry about anyone fighting him. And he did drive away and almost stole the lead from James Stevenson in that number 11 machine. A great battle as he came out of pit lane. First part, I mean, to be fair, like, the first part of this race was really, really interesting with the first caution, I believe, didn't come until about halfway into the race, but then 3 cautions in the second half did not only bunch a field back together, but created some interesting scenarios, allowing some of these drivers to get back into the race itself, especially those who had been black flagged. But I'll tell you what, James Stevenson, he did win the race, but we haven't really talked about him. He's been one of those drivers who's just been very slow, not very slow, but very calm, very collected, and just somehow manages to steal victory without anyone even realising.
Yeah, that was insanely not visible dominance by James Stevenson. He was the fastest MX-5 in the end around the racetrack. He did not do anything flashy. I mean, at the beginning of the race, Antti being the only MX-5 without a pit stop, he just took it as long as possibly could. But behind him, all the MX-5s that did visit the pits, James Stevenson just did fast laps, stayed out of trouble. In that last few laps, we saw Jared Lawson did a brave move in the middle section of the track, took the lead. James Stevenson just kept his composure, took the lead back at the beginning of second to last lap, and just awesome victory for James Stevenson, well earned. And I have to say that overall we had 25 cars in the field. 25 cars started the race, and how many DNFs? 1.
Very few DNFs. Yeah, 1.
1 DNF out of 25 cars around 90 minutes around Virginia International Raceway. That's my personal hats off to every racer out there.
And we would like to welcome Giancarlo Lenzi into the booth. Giancarlo, it's been an exciting day, shall we say, for you. I don't think 10th position quantifies your race overall. At one point you were leading, at one point you were in the grass, at one point you're having to dodge other cars around you. Just take us through some of the main parts of your race.
Oh man, there are so many parts, I don't even know if I can. You know, I was, to start off, Grand Touring Cup was running this for this week, and I was having just a terrible time trying to adapt to the track and get a good setup and, you know, really stay consistent. And, you know, I thought I had it. I did a race earlier today, and it was, you know, only half an hour. Felt good. Came here, and it was just mayhem. It just felt like I was not confident. I wasn't feeling it, and I lost a lot of rhythm as soon as I started going off. I think when I started leading, not leading, but I had a James and Jarrett, man, they were really pushing me, and there was a lot of stress to not screw up through the carousel into Hog's Pen, and I don't know what happened. I'm just not very good braking there, at least not as good as those guys, and it killed my race. It just killed my morale in my race.
It did look as though, with those last couple of cautions, you were able to get yourself back into position to try and close to that lead pack, and then all of a sudden going down to the roller coaster, it just looked as though you lost it on exit, and that put paid to any chance of securing a top 5.
You know, the yellows, they came really, they're actually godsend. I didn't think we were going to have any before race end, actually, because we were clean up for the most part for almost the first half. And then, you know, the yellows came, and I think it was Eric Biggs in front of me with somebody in front of him, and I was coming around the oak tree, and I guess I must have not either braked hard enough or he broke a little bit too hard, and I felt like I was going to go into him, so I sort of tried to straighten myself out and not lose it, and that ended up, started to go off, and I didn't hit the wall, luckily, but I came around, and I just, you know, Hung Ho Tao, he just came right up on my front, and that just killed the car. You know, I able with some of those yellows, especially towards the end, to really get in the top 8, and there was just not enough power or something in the front of that car. The aero was just slowing me down. Just those straights were killing me.
And I'm going to bring one more question to you very quickly. There's been a lot of black flags in this race, but at the same time, the cautions in the second half kind of negated it in some ways. Do you think that those black flags held a little bit less meaning just because it was, at the end of it, a drop yourself 3-4 positions back?
Yeah, for those guys, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a morale killer when you get a black flag. You really got to watch yourself coming up on that start finish and make sure that you're not passing too many people, or if anybody, on that start finish. Otherwise, you know, it's going to kill your positioning.
Oh.
And
sorry, carry on.
It's for me.
Anybody else?
They were great.
Well, very disappointing finish in some ways. So you came home 10th. Hopefully, look to see a better race from you, perhaps when we go to round 5.
Yep, really look forward to it.
And I would like to enter into
Around
the
40
booth.
miles an hour.
Oh, sorry about that. I'd like to enter into the booth your 3 of your top 4, James Stevenson, Jason Breyfogle, and Jarrett Lawson. Sorry to interrupt your post-race chatty moment, but Stevenson, I'll start with you. On that last restart, you had the lead, you lost the lead, and then you gained the lead back again, all in the space of a lap.
Yeah, we were just discussing that the Mustangs were really slow through the first couple of sectors on the restarts, and it was holding us up and giving people opportunities to get passes done.
And, I mean, first of all, take us through your race up until that point of the last caution.
First lap, John Cullo and I came together, and I pretty much dropped back to last place and just drove into the pits and tried to keep up. First safety car, I'd pretty much just passed everybody, and they were right on my tail. And every safety car, I was at threat at losing the lead, and swapping positions, and it was intense.
And then coming into that final restart, knowing that you lost the lead with 3 laps to go, how determined did you have to be down that backstretch to be able to get the lead back going into the roller coaster?
Oh, very determined. I knew Jarrett was going to sort of move over the middle of the track, and I just had to go in there and make sure I got on the brakes deep and kept it straight enough to drive around the outside of him on the next section.
And I'll bring Jason Breyfogle into the conversation. Jason came home 2nd in pretty much what was a crazy race for the top 5 positions in the Mazda MX-5 division.
Oh, especially on the restarts. And I started off pretty bad because I got myself into trouble with a slower car and lost my rhythm, but once the cautions came out, I found it and stayed with these guys, so I'm just happy to have done that. I'm going much slower than these guys are.
And one of the things that we noticed in this race, and you were one of the drivers that managed to get the wave around, you had to literally be on it for an entire 3 laps just to catch back up to the pace car after you got waved around.
Oh yeah, if you weren't, you weren't going to catch up. The track is so long. I think the pace laps are like 3.5, which helps, but when you're only doing like a 2:15 or so around on trying to catch them, it takes a lot to get around there to get them.
And you talked about how you felt that you didn't have the pace for some of the other cars around you, but on a track like this, where there's so many points where you can, just put it off the racetrack into the grass, into the wall, especially corners like Oak Tree and into turn 1 and 3, is it in some ways just a case of being able to keep it clean and keep it on the kind of grey, shiny stuff?
Oh yeah, this track is awful. Any mistake and you're off in the weeds mowing grass somewhere. So yeah, if you can keep it on, you're going to do well. And I managed to keep it on for the pretty good amount of the race once I got the first couple of problems out of the way, and I think that's why I finished where I did.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way.
Jarrett Lawson came home 4th in the Mazda MX-5 division. Just seems to be like we're only talking to the MX-5 people today at the moment. But came home 4th overall. Was 4th what you expected, or were you hoping for something better?
I was definitely aiming for first. James, though, he's just quick. I was hoping I could get within his draft on the back straight, just staying close. But that last, I believe it was like turn 3, I just went into the braking zone and was too close to the grass, caught grass, and it was done.
And these cautions, I mean, we had no cautions for the first 45 minutes almost, and then 3 in the second half of the race. How much were these cautions breaking up your rhythm and momentum?
They weren't breaking up mine very well. I was right back on it after every restart. Actually, James told me I got fastest lap. I believe it was after the second restart. So yeah, I was on it. I was good, just freaking good.
And as we go towards round 5 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series, are you hoping for more of the same? Who do you think is going to come out on top next time out?
I'm gonna place my money on James, definitely, but it's honestly a throw up between Giancarlo, James. Anti's pretty fast. If I hadn't have punted him, unfortunately, I gotta apologize to him afterwards. He probably would have been up tier with us. So we got a lot of fast drivers, but I would definitely place my money on James, though. And everybody else, though, is throw up.
And Mid-Ohio, it's similar in some ways to Virginia, but it's a lot shorter racetrack, so the Mustang is going to come to play a lot more than it did here.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially over the the off-camber turns. They're going to be going real slow, and we're just going to be catching them, I believe.
Well, congratulations to all of you for your race finishes. I know for some of you you wanted a little bit better, but say we go to Mid-Ohio in just a couple of weeks' time. Some of you are hoping for possibly some better performances. I believe that we have got one more driver, Oscar Sarlin, just waiting to have a little chat with us. But I'll tell you what, next time out in Mid-Ohio is really going to be interesting. Not only because of the fact that on the long straightaways you're going to see Mustangs scrambling to get past the Mazda MX-5s in comparison to some of these slow and technical corners, but also because of the track length itself is just so tight and narrow, and such a short racetrack that pretty much it's going to be so difficult to find some clean air. And I believe that we have now got Oscar Sarlin into the commentary booth. Oscar came home second in the Ford Mustang division. Very good race by you there.
Hi, thank you.
And for a moment, it did look as though you almost had the opportunity to steal victory from Trace McRae with just a couple of laps to go, but he just somehow managed to hold you off coming down into the roller coaster.
Yeah, I saw him make a mistake around the tree, and I made my shot there, but it wasn't enough.
And looking at the competition around you, was second the most you could have hoped for? Or do you think that if the race had stayed green a bit longer, you could have tried to mount a bit more pressure on Trace?
No, I think second was what I was aiming for, but I kind of wanted the first place there in the end, but it wasn't to be.
And going to Mid-Ohio next time out for round 5 of the series, it's a very different type of racetrack because of the fact that you're not really going to have any opportunity to stop to breathe because of the short track length and the Mazda MX-5s around you. How important is it to navigate your way through traffic at Mid-Ohio?
Well, I guess there are a few places to overtake, but the sector 2 or 3 might be very tricky.
And once again, very good job by all of you in both the MX-5 and the Ford Mustang division. That concludes our race broadcast for round 4 of the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time at Mid-Ohio. That will be on the 7th of April. Meanwhile, don't forget the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series is being sponsored by Safecraft Racing, your home for safety harnesses, belt and head nets. Drive fast, be safe with Safecraft Racing, and we'll see you at Mid-Ohio.